The massive Federation starship Harmony's Edge floated through space like a small metal city. Inside its main briefing room, 12 different alien species sat around a glowing table. The room was filled with strange sounds. Some aliens clicked their tongues, others made low humming noises. A few tapped their claws on the metal surface. At the far end of the room sat Lieutenant Commander Han Wu. He was human, which made him different from everyone else in the room. Han Wu wore a simple blue uniform with few medals. His black hair was cut short and neat. His dark eyes moved slowly across the holographic display in front of him. He had not spoken a word for the past hour. Admiral Yun Hai stood at the head of the table. She was also human, but much older than Han Wu. Her gray hair was pulled back tight. Lines around her eyes showed years of making hard decisions. She pointed at the spinning image of a star system in the center of the table. "The Devourers have been quiet for 3 months," Admiral Yunhei said. "Our intelligence sources tell us they are planning something big, something that could destroy all the core worlds." The hologram changed to show a massive fleet of dark ships. They looked like giant metal insects with sharp edges and glowing red lights. These were the Devourers. For 20 years they had been eating their way across the galaxy. They consumed entire planets and turned them into more ships for their fleet. Commander Veltar leaned forward in his chair. He was tall and thin with green scaly skin. His yellow eyes glowed as he spoke. "My people have fought the Devourers for decades. They are machines. They think like computers. They calculate every move before they make it." General Kixmoth clicked his mandibles together. He looked like a giant insect with 4 arms and black compound eyes. "The Devourers adapt to everything we throw at them. Our plasma weapons worked for 6 months. Then they built better shields. Our quantum torpedoes worked for a year. Then they learned to deflect them." Captain Kim Jae nodded from his seat. He was human, like Han Wu and Admiral Yun Hai, but younger. His fingers danced over a datapad as he spoke. "Every time we develop new technology, they copy it and make it better. It is like fighting our own reflection." The room filled with worried voices. Some aliens suggested building bigger guns. Others wanted to develop new shield technology. Few thought they should try to negotiate with the Devourers. Han Wu said nothing. He stared at the holographic display showing enemy ship movements over the past 6 months. His fingers traced patterns in the air above his datapad. Sometimes he would pause and write down a few numbers, but he never joined the loud conversation around him. Commander Veltar noticed Han Wu's silence. He turned his reptilian head toward the quiet human. "Perhaps our human military advisor has something to add? Or are Earth's primitive fighting methods too simple for such an advanced enemy?" Several aliens made sounds that might have been laughter. They had all heard stories about human warfare. Humans still used chemical explosives and metal bullets, while other species had energy weapons and force fields. Most aliens thought humans were lucky to be in the Federation at all. Admiral Yun Hai looked at Han Wu with concern. She had worked with him for 3 years. She knew he was not the type to stay quiet during important meetings. When Han Wu went silent, it usually meant he was thinking about something important. "The Devourer fleet has been spotted near the Kepler Nebula," Admiral Yun Hai continued. "Long-range sensors show at least 300 ships. They seem to be waiting for something." General Kixmoth pulled up a tactical display. "We should strike fast and hard. Use our biggest ships to hit them before they can adapt to our weapons. If we coordinate our attack perfectly, we can destroy half their fleet before they respond." Commander Veltar agreed. "My species has developed new energy shields that can deflect their weapons for at least 30 minutes. That should give us enough time to close the distance and engage them directly." The conversation grew louder as more aliens added their ideas. Some wanted to use stealth ships to attack from behind. Others suggested creating a massive energy barrier to trap the Devourer fleet. Each species believed their technology would be the key to victory. Han Wu continued to study the display in silence. He zoomed in on different sections of space around the Kepler Nebula. He looked at trade routes and supply lines. He examined the timing of recent Devourer attacks in nearby systems. His expression never changed, but his eyes grew more focused. Admiral Yun Hai watched Han Wu carefully. She had seen that look before. It was the same expression he wore right before their most dangerous missions back on Earth, back when impossible situations somehow became possible. "The plan is simple," General Kixmoth announced. "We gather our combined fleet at coordinate 77 Alpha. We approach the nebula in standard battle formation. When we reach optimal firing range, we unleash everything we have." The other commanders nodded in agreement. It was a straightforward plan that used the Federation's superior numbers and firepower. They would meet the enemy head-on and destroy them through coordinated assault. Han Wu finally looked up from his display. His dark eyes moved around the room, studying each alien face. He opened his mouth as if to speak, then closed it again. He returned his attention to the holographic star charts. "Is there a problem, Lieutenant Commander?" Admiral Yun Hai asked. Han Wu was quiet for several seconds. When he spoke, his voice was calm and steady. "When was the last time the Devourers attacked a major supply depot?" The question seemed to surprise everyone. General Kixmoth checked his datapad. "Approximately 4 months ago. They hit the fuel station at Rigel 7. Han Wu nodded slowly. "And before that?" "6 months ago, they destroyed the weapons manufacturing plant at New Geneva," Captain Kim Jae answered. Han Wu asked 3 more questions about Devourer attack patterns. Each question seemed simple and obvious, but something in his tone made the room grow quiet. Even Commander Veltar stopped making dismissive comments. Admiral Yun Hai recognized the warning signs. When Han Wu started asking simple questions, it meant he had already figured out something important, something that everyone else had missed. The briefing room fell silent, except for the low hum of the ship's engines. All 12 alien species watched the quiet human study his datapad. They did not realize they were looking at humanity's most dangerous weapon. They thought his silence meant fear or confusion. They had no idea they were watching a predator calculate the perfect moment to strike. The briefing room remained silent after Han Wu's simple questions. Admiral Yun Hai could see the wheels turning in his mind. She had learned to read his expressions during their years working together. Right now, he looked like a hunter who had found fresh tracks. General Kixmoth clicked his mandibles together nervously. "What are you suggesting, Lieutenant Commander? That the Devourers have changed their attack patterns?" Han Wu set down his datapad and looked directly at the insect-like general. "They have not attacked a single supply line in 4 months. Before that, they hit our logistics every few weeks. Why stop now?" Commander Veltar waved a scaled hand dismissively. "Perhaps they are focusing their resources on building their fleet. Machines think about efficiency above all else." "Exactly," Han Wu said quietly. "Machines think about efficiency. So why gather 300 ships in open space where we can see them? Why not hide and strike when we least expect it?" The question hung in the air like smoke. Several alien commanders shifted uncomfortably in their seats. They had been so focused on their own battle plans that they had not thought about what the enemy was really doing. Captain Kim Jae frowned as he studied his own data. "The lieutenant commander has a point. The Devourers usually attack from hidden positions. They use stealth and surprise to overwhelm their targets." Admiral Yun Hai watched Han Wu carefully. She knew his background better than anyone else in the room. Han Wu had been born in Seoul on Earth 43 years ago. He joined the Korean Navy at 18 and quickly proved himself in combat. By 25, he had been selected for the most elite unit on Earth, the Navy SEALs. For 15 years, Han Wu had fought in conflicts across Earth and the outer colonies. He specialized in impossible missions behind enemy lines, places where technology meant less than cunning and determination, places where humans had to think like the predators they had evolved to be. When humanity joined the Galactic Federation, they needed officers who could work with alien species. Han Wu had volunteered for the cultural exchange program. Most aliens saw him as a primitive warrior from a backward planet. They had no idea what kind of mind they were dealing with. Han Wu stood up slowly and walked to the holographic display. He pointed at the Kepler Nebula where the Devourer fleet was waiting. "Look at the positioning. They are not spread out for attack. They are clustered together like they are protecting something." He manipulated the display to show a wider view of the surrounding space. "Now look at the nebula itself. Dense gas clouds, electromagnetic interference, limited sensor range. If someone wanted to hide a much larger force, where would be the perfect place? The realization hit the room like a cold wave. Commander Veltar's yellow eyes widened. You think there are more ships hidden inside the nebula? Hanwoo nodded. I think the ships we can see are bait. They want us to attack them in the nebula where they have every advantage. General Kixmoth brought up detailed scans of the nebula. Our sensors cannot penetrate the interference. There could be thousands of ships hiding in there and we would never know. But that is just speculation, Commander Veltar protested. We cannot change our entire battle plan based on a human's guess. Admiral Yunhai stepped forward. She had heard enough. Lieutenant Commander Hanwoo, please explain your analysis to the commanders. Hanwoo returned to his seat but did not sit down. Instead, he began to pace slowly around the table. It was something he did when his mind was working through complex problems. On Earth, my unit studied an ancient human military strategist named Sun Tzu. He wrote that all warfare is based on deception. The enemy shows you what they want you to see, not what is really there. He stopped pacing and looked directly at each alien commander. The Devourers have been studying us for 20 years. They know how the Federation fights. They know we prefer direct confrontation with superior firepower. They are giving us exactly what we expect to see. Captain Kim Jae pulled up historical battle data. Every major Federation victory has followed the same pattern. We locate the enemy fleet, gather our forces, and attack with overwhelming numbers. And it has worked, Commander Veltar pointed out. Why would we change proven tactics? Hanwoo smiled for the first time since the briefing began. It was not a pleasant smile. Because the Devourers have been letting us win small battles while they prepare for a big one. They have been learning our weaknesses. He walked back to the holographic display and zoomed in on recent battle sites. Look at the patterns. Every time we fought them, they retreated before taking heavy losses. They could have fought to the death like machines usually do. Instead, they pulled back and preserved their forces. The room grew quiet as the alien commanders studied the data. The evidence was all there, but none of them had put the pieces together. They had been thinking like civilized beings planning a military operation. Hanwoo had been thinking like a predator hunting prey. Admiral Yunhei remembered the first time she had seen Hanwoo in action. It was during the colony wars when human rebels had taken hostages on Mars. The situation looked hopeless. 300 rebels held a fortified position with 50 civilian hostages. Every military advisor recommended a direct assault or a long siege. Hanwoo suggested something different. He wanted to go in alone, unarmed, and surrender to the rebels. Everyone thought he had lost his mind, but Hanwoo understood something about human psychology that the others missed. He knew that confident. Enemies make mistakes. He let himself be captured, then used the rebels' overconfidence against them. Within 6 hours, all the hostages were free and the rebels were in custody. Now Admiral Yunhai saw the same calculating look in Hanwoo's eyes. He was not just analyzing enemy tactics. He was thinking about how to turn their own strategy against them. What do you recommend, Lieutenant Commander? She asked. Hanwoo was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was steady and sure. We do not take the bait. We do not attack their fleet in the nebula. Instead, we force them to come, to us on ground of our choosing, Commander Veltar hissed in frustration. And how exactly do we do that? The Devourers are not going to abandon their defensive position just because we ask nicely. Hanwoo's smile returned. This time it looked almost dangerous. We give them something they cannot resist, something that fits their programming for maximum efficiency. What did you have in mind? General Kixmoth asked nervously. Hanwoo looked around the room at all the alien faces watching him. They still did not understand what they were dealing with. They saw a quiet human officer making suggestions about military tactics. They did not realize they were looking at evolution's finest predator preparing to hunt. 3 days later, the Federation fleet approached the Kepler Nebula. Despite Hanwoo's warnings, the alien commanders had voted to proceed with their original plan. They believed their superior numbers would be enough to win the day. Admiral Yunhei stood on the bridge of the flagship, watching the swirling clouds of gas and dust ahead. 200 Federation ships moved in perfect formation behind them. Each vessel represented the finest military technology of 12 different species. Han Wu stood beside her at a tactical station. He had not argued when the commanders rejected his advice. Instead, he had spent the last 3 days studying every detail about the Kepler Nebula. His datapad was filled with notes about gas density, electromagnetic fields, and gravitational anomalies. Long-range sensors are picking up the Devourer fleet, Captain Kim Jae reported from his station. 312 ships, exactly where intelligence predicted they would be. Commander Veltar activated the communication system from his command chair. All ships maintain formation. Prepare weapons for long-range engagement. The Federation fleet spread out into attack position. Heavy battleships moved to the center while smaller cruisers took flanking positions. Fighter squadrons launched from carrier ships and formed protective screens around the capital vessels. Han Wu watched the tactical display with growing concern. The Devourer ships were arranged in a tight defensive formation near the heart of the nebula. They had not moved to intercept the approaching Federation fleet. They were just waiting. "Something is wrong," he said quietly to Admiral Yunhai. She nodded. "I know, but the vote was 12-1. The commanders want to proceed." General Kixmoth's voice crackled over the communication system. "First wave, begin your attack run. Target their command ships first." 50 Federation fighters screamed toward the Devourer formation. Their energy weapons lit up space with brilliant flashes of light. The first salvo struck the enemy ships and exploded against their dark hulls. "Direct hits confirmed," Captain Kim Jae announced. "Enemy shields are holding but showing damage." The Devourer ships began to return fire. Red beams of energy lanced out from their weapons and struck the attacking fighters. Several Federation ships exploded in balls of flame, but the rest pressed their attack. Commander Veltar leaned forward in his chair. "Second wave, begin your approach. All battleships, prepare main guns." The battle was unfolding exactly as the Federation commanders had planned. Their superior numbers were wearing down the Devourer defenses. Energy shields flickered and failed under the constant bombardment. Several enemy ships broke apart under the assault. Han Wu studied his sensor readings with growing unease. "Admiral, look at these power signatures. The ships we are fighting are not running at full capacity." Admiral Yunhai checked her own displays. "What do you mean?" "Their reactors are only operating at 60%. Their weapons are firing at reduced power. Either they are damaged or—" Han Wu's voice trailed off as the terrible truth became clear. "Or they are not the real fleet," Admiral Yunhai finished. Before she could warn the other commanders, space around the Federation fleet erupted in new enemy contacts. Massive Devourer motherships materialized from within the nebula's dense gas clouds. They had been hiding there all along, powered down and invisible to sensors. "New contacts," Captain Kim Jae shouted. 30 motherships emerging from the nebula. Each one is 10 times larger than anything we have seen before. The trap had been sprung perfectly. The Federation fleet was spread out in attack formation, focused on the decoy ships ahead. The real Devourer force hit them from 3 sides at once. Energy beams thick as buildings sliced through Federation ships like they were made of paper. The new Devourer weapons were unlike anything the Federation had encountered. They cut through shields and armor with terrifying ease. "All ships, emergency maneuvers," Commander Veltar screamed into his communicator. "Reform defensive positions immediately." But it was too late. The Federation formation was scattered and confused. Ships collided with each other as they tried to turn and face the new threat. The careful battle plan fell apart within minutes. "General," Kixmoth's flagship took a direct hit from a mothership's main weapon. The massive cruiser broke in half and exploded, taking the insect general with it. 2 more Federation battleships died in the next few seconds. "They have adapted to our weapons," Captain Kim Jae reported in horror. "Our energy beams are having no effect on their new armor." Han Wu watched the slaughter with grim understanding. "They have been studying us for 20 years. Every battle, every tactic, every weapon system. They know exactly how we fight." The Devourer motherships moved with mechanical precision. They concentrated their fire on the largest Federation ships first, eliminating the most dangerous threats. Their weapons had been specifically designed to counter Federation shield technology. Commander Veltar's ship shuddered as enemy fire found its mark. "We need to retreat immediately. Signal all ships to withdraw to minimum safe distance." "Negative," came the reply from multiple ship commanders. "Exit routes are blocked. Enemy ships are surrounding us." The trap was even more complete than Han Wu had feared. While the Federation fleet was focused on the decoy force, more Devourer ships had moved to block all escape routes. The entire Federation fleet was trapped inside a sphere of enemy vessels. Admiral Yun Hai grabbed Han Wu's arm. "You saw this coming. What do we do now?" Han Wu looked around the bridge at the panicking officers. Federation training was excellent for conventional warfare, but this situation was beyond conventional. The alien commanders were trying to use logic and tactics against an enemy that had already calculated every possible response. "They think like machines," Han Wu said quietly. "Perfect efficiency, calculated responses, predictable adaptation. They have a response for every standard tactic in our playbook." Another Federation battleship exploded under concentrated Devourer fire. The enemy was systematically destroying the largest ships first, working their way down to smaller vessels. It was a methodical execution. "So what do we do?" Admiral Yun Hai asked desperately. Han Wu was quiet for several seconds. When he spoke, his voice was calm despite the chaos around them. "We stop thinking like civilized beings. We start thinking like the predators we evolved to be." He turned to face Admiral Yun Hai with eyes that had gone completely cold. "We do. Something they cannot calculate. Something that makes no logical sense. Something that goes against every rule of conventional warfare." "What are you talking about?" she asked. Han Wu moved to the main tactical display and began entering commands. "The Devourers have studied Federation tactics for 20 years. They know how advanced species fight wars, but they have never studied how humans survive when everything goes wrong." The bridge shook as another enemy salvo found its mark. Emergency lights flickered red as damage reports poured in from all over the ship. "Admiral," Captain Kim Jae called. "Out. We have lost 40% of our fleet. At this rate, we will be completely destroyed within the hour." Admiral Yun Hai looked at the tactical display showing the terrible situation. Federation ships were dying faster than they could fight. Back. The Devourer weapons were too advanced and their tactics too perfect. Then she looked at Han Wu and saw something that gave her hope. He was not panicking like the other officers. He was not trying to follow conventional tactics that had already failed. Instead, he looked like a hunter who had just figured out how to catch much larger prey. "What do you need?" she asked. Han Wu smiled, and for the first time since the battle began, it was a predator's smile. "I need you to give me control of every human ship in the fleet, and I need you to trust me to do something that will look completely insane." Admiral Yun Hai did not hesitate. "Done. What are your orders?" Han Wu's fingers moved across the tactical display as he began to implement a plan that no alien species would ever consider. A plan that went against every rule of logical warfare. A plan that only worked if you thought like humanity's ancestors hunting much larger prey on the plains of ancient Earth. Han Wu took control of 47 human ships scattered throughout the dying Federation fleet. His first order made every alien commander think he had lost his mind. All human vessels, break formation immediately. Ignore tactical doctrine. Begin random evasive patterns and prepare for close combat. Commander Veltar's voice crackled over the communication system. "Have you gone insane? Breaking formation now will get us all killed." "We are already being killed," Admiral Yun Hai replied calmly. "Following standard tactics got us trapped. Maybe it is time to try something different." The human ships began to move in ways that defied military logic. Instead of maintaining defensive positions, they scattered like frightened animals. Some dove toward the nebula's dense gas clouds. Others spun wildly while firing in seemingly random directions. The Devourer motherships paused in their systematic destruction. Their artificial minds tried to calculate the new human behavior patterns. But there were no patterns to calculate. Each human ship was acting independently and unpredictably, Han Wu opened a private channel to Captain Kim Jae. Take your ship directly into the densest part of the enemy formation. Do not try to fight your way through. Just cause as much chaos as possible. Sir, that is suicide, Kim Jae protested. No, that is hunting, Han Wu replied. Trust me and follow my lead. Han Wu's own ship, a small human cruiser, suddenly accelerated toward the largest Devourer mothership. He was not heading for its weapons or engines. Instead, he aimed for a section of hull that seemed completely unimportant. The mothership's defensive systems tried to target the small cruiser, but Han Wu's flight pattern made no sense. He spiraled and spun like a leaf in the wind. The Devourer, targeting computers, could not predict where he would be next. All human Marines prepare for boarding action, Han Wu announced. We are going hunting. What happened next shocked every alien in the Federation fleet. Instead of trying to destroy the Devourer ships with superior firepower, the humans began ramming them. Small human vessels crashed directly into the massive enemy motherships and deployed boarding parties. Captain Kim Jae's ship slammed into the side of a Devourer mothership at full speed. The impact tore his ship apart, but not before his Marines had deployed directly into the enemy vessel. They did not head for the bridge or engineering like any logical boarding party would do. Instead, the human Marines scattered throughout the ship and began destroying everything they could find. They did not target important systems. They attacked random components, life support conduits, and storage areas. Their goal was not to capture the ship, but to create pure chaos. The Devourer artificial intelligence tried to respond to the human intrusion, but it could not predict what the Marines would target next. Its defensive protocols were designed to protect critical systems, not random maintenance panels and storage compartments. Meanwhile, Han Wu's ship had penetrated deep into the enemy formation. 3 Devourer motherships were pursuing him, trying to destroy the small human cruiser. But Han Wu was not trying to escape. He was leading them exactly where he wanted them to go. Admiral, I need you to prepare the Harmony's Edge for emergency maneuvers, Han Wu said over the communication system. What kind of maneuvers? Admiral Yunhai asked. The kind that will destroy our own ship, Han Wu replied calmly. Admiral Yunhai understood immediately. She had seen Han Wu make impossible decisions before. Sometimes victory required sacrifices that seemed insane to everyone else. All non-essential personnel to escape pods, she announced. Prepare the ship for ramming speed. The flagship of the Federation fleet suddenly changed course. Instead of trying to fight its way out of the trap, it accelerated directly toward the center of the Devourer formation. The alien crew members were horrified, but they followed orders. Other human ships began copying the same tactic. They stopped, trying to win through superior technology or careful tactics. Instead, they fought like cornered animals using teeth and claws. The effect on the Devourer fleet was immediate and devastating. Their perfect tactical algorithms began to break down. Machine intelligence worked by analyzing patterns and calculating optimal responses. But the humans were not following any patterns. A human destroyer rammed a Devourer cruiser and both ships exploded. But before they died, the human crew had managed to damage 3 other enemy vessels with debris from the explosion. It was not an efficient trade by military standards, but it created chaos in the enemy formation. Han Wu's small cruiser finally reached its destination, the exact center of the enemy fleet. All around him, massive Devourer motherships closed in for the kill, their weapons charged up to destroy the small human ship. Now, Han Wu said quietly, Admiral Yunhei activated a secret weapon that no alien species knew humans possessed. It was not advanced technology or exotic energy. It was something much more primitive and much more dangerous. Nuclear weapons. Humans were the only species in the Federation that still used atomic explosives. Every other race had moved on to cleaner energy weapons centuries ago. They considered nuclear bombs to be crude and barbaric. But Han Wu understood something that the advanced alien species had forgotten. Sometimes crude and barbaric was exactly what you needed. The Harmony's Edge exploded in a nuclear fireball that consumed everything within a 10-kilometer radius. The blast was so primitive and unexpected that the Devourer's shields could not adapt quickly enough to defend against it. 4 motherships died instantly. 6 more were crippled by electromagnetic pulses that fried their electronic systems. The perfect enemy formation collapsed into burning chaos. But Han Wu was not finished. Hidden throughout the Federation fleet, other human ships were preparing similar surprises. They had been manufacturing improvised nuclear devices from their reactor cores and torpedo warheads. All human vessels, Han Wu broadcast on an open channel, begin final phase. Remember, we are not trying to win cleanly. We are trying to survive. What followed was unlike any battle in galactic history. Human ships began exploding themselves in calculated sacrifices designed to cause maximum damage to the enemy. Each explosion was timed and positioned to create the most chaos possible. The Devourer fleet found itself fighting an enemy that made no logical sense. Humans were sacrificing expensive starships to damage less valuable targets. They were ignoring military objectives to attack random systems. They were fighting like wild animals instead of civilized beings. And it was working. The machine intelligence of the Devourers could not adapt to truly random behavior. Their programming was based on the assumption that all species would fight logically and efficiently. They had no response protocols for enemies that embraced chaos and sacrifice. Commander Veltar watched in amazement as the tide of battle began to turn. How is this possible? The humans are destroying their own ships, but somehow they are winning. Admiral Yun Hai smiled as she watched Han Wu's plan unfold. They are not destroying their ships. They are using them as weapons. There is a difference. One by one, the Devourer motherships began to retreat. Their artificial minds could not calculate effective responses to human tactics. Every time they adapted to one human strategy, the humans would switch to something completely different. Captain Kim Jae's voice came over the communication system from inside a crippled Devourer mothership. Sir, we have taken control of this vessel's navigation system. The artificial intelligence is trying to repair the damage we caused, but we keep breaking new things faster than it can fix them. Han Wu's surviving ship limped through the debris field that had once been the heart of the enemy formation. His hull was cracked and his engines were failing, but he was still alive. More importantly, his plan was working. All remaining ships, he announced. Begin phase 2 of the hunt. It is time to show them what happens when you corner humanity's children. The surviving alien commanders watched in stunned silence as the humans prepared for the final phase of their impossible plan. They were about to learn why evolution had created humanity to be persistence hunters, and why cornered predators were the most dangerous animals in the universe. The Devourer fleet was in complete chaos. Half of their motherships were destroyed or crippled. The survivors were trying to retreat from the nebula, but they kept running into problems they could not solve. Human boarding parties were still loose inside their ships, causing random damage. Every time the Devourer artificial intelligence repaired one system, the humans would break 2 others. It was like trying to fight a virus that kept changing its attack pattern. Han Wu's battered cruiser drifted through the debris field, apparently powerless and harmless. The surviving Devourer ships ignored it as they focused on larger threats. That was exactly what Han Wu wanted them to think. Captain Kim Jae, report your status, Han Wu said into his communicator. Kim Jae's voice came, back filled with excitement. Sir, we have completely confused their navigation systems. This mothership keeps trying to fly in 3 different directions at once. The artificial intelligence is having some kind of breakdown. Excellent. Phase 2 is working perfectly, Han Wu replied. Admiral Yun Hai's voice crackled over the communication system from her escape pod. Han Wu, what exactly is Phase 2? Han Wu smiled as he watched the Devourer ship struggling to escape the nebula. Phase 2 is teaching them that humans are persistence hunters, Admiral. We do not give up, and we learn from every mistake. What the Devourers did not understand was that every human sacrifice had been carefully planned. Every exploding ship had gathered intelligence about Devourer weaknesses and defensive systems. Every boarding party had mapped the interior of enemy vessels and identified critical vulnerabilities. The humans had not been fighting to win quickly. They had been fighting to learn how to kill their enemies slowly and efficiently. Commander, Feltar's damaged ship limped toward the edge of the nebula. This is insane. How are primitive human tactics defeating advanced machine intelligence? Because machine intelligence assumes rational behavior, Han Wu explained. Humans are not always rational. Sometimes we do things that make no logical sense but work anyway. The truth was more complex than that. Humans had evolved as persistence hunters on the plains of ancient Earth. They had learned to chase prey that was faster and stronger until it collapsed from exhaustion. They had developed the ability to think like their prey and predict its movements. Most importantly, humans had learned that sometimes the best way to kill something bigger than you was to make it hurt itself. Han Wu activated a hidden communication system that connected him to every human marine still alive inside the Devourer ships. All boarding parties begin final phase. Target the components we discussed during training. For the past 3 days, while the alien commanders were planning their conventional attack, Han Wu had been training human marines for a very different kind of mission. He had studied every piece of intelligence about Devourer technology and identified critical weaknesses. The humans inside the enemy ships began targeting specific systems in a coordinated pattern. They had learned that Devourer motherships used a centralized power distribution network. If you damaged the right components in the right order, you could cause cascade failures throughout the entire vessel. Captain Kim Jae's team struck first. They used improvised explosives to damage 3 power coupling stations simultaneously. The mothership's artificial intelligence tried to reroute power around the damaged areas, but the humans had anticipated that response. As soon as the AI began the rerouting process, Kim Jae's team struck again. This time they targeted the secondary power grid. The combination of damage overloaded the ship's main reactor, causing a catastrophic failure that tore the massive vessel apart from the inside. Similar explosions began occurring throughout the Devourer fleet. Each mothership that tried to escape the nebula suffered mysterious internal failures. Their own power systems were being turned against them by human engineers who understood how to make complex machinery destroy itself. The surviving Devourer ships found themselves trapped in a nightmare scenario. They were being hunted by an enemy that seemed to know their technology better than they did. Every time they tried to adapt, the humans would exploit some new weakness they had not considered. Han Wu's seemingly powerless cruiser suddenly came back to life. Its engines had not been damaged at all. He had been playing dead while positioning himself for the perfect killing blow. The largest surviving Devourer mothership was trying to reach the edge of the nebula when Han Wu's ship intercepted. The mothership was 50 times larger than the human cruiser, but size was not everything in this fight. Han Wu had spent the entire battle studying the mothership's movement patterns. He knew exactly how its artificial intelligence would react to different threats. He positioned his ship in the one location where the mothership could not bring its main weapons to bear. Then he did something that would have made any military academy instructor have nightmares. He rammed his ship directly into the mothership's main reactor. The collision should have destroyed both vessels instantly, but Han Wu had calculated the impact precisely. His ship's hull had been reinforced with debris from destroyed Federation vessels. The improvised armor held just long enough for his final plan to work. Nuclear explosives hidden throughout his ship detonated inside the mothership's reactor core. The explosion created a chain reaction that consumed the entire vessel in seconds. The largest and most dangerous Devourer ship died in a fireball that lit up the entire nebula. The remaining Devourer ships finally managed to escape the nebula, but they were no longer the same perfect fighting force that had entered it. More than half their fleet was destroyed. The survivors were damaged and confused, their artificial intelligence struggling to process what had happened. For the first time in 20 years, the Devourers retreated from a battle without achieving their objectives. They had encountered an enemy they could not understand or defeat through superior technology and tactics. Commander Veltar's ship was among the Federation survivors limping away from the battlefield. He opened a communication channel to Admiral Yunhei's escape pod. "Admiral, I owe you an apology, and I owe Lieutenant Commander Han Wu my life. How did he know this would work?" Admiral Yunhei looked through the viewport of her escape pod at the glowing debris field that marked humanity's greatest victory. "He did not know it would work, Commander. He knew it was our only chance to survive." But how could he predict their reactions so accurately? Admiral Yunhai smiled. Because Han Wu was not thinking like a military officer planning a battle. He was thinking like a predator hunting prey. And humans are very good at hunting things that are bigger and stronger than we are. Captain Kim Jae's voice came over the communication system from his captured Devourer ship. Admiral, we have secured this vessel and accessed its computer banks. The intelligence data we are gathering will change everything we know about the enemy. Admiral Yunhai nodded. That was the real victory. The humans had not just survived an impossible battle. They had turned it into a learning experience that would help them win the war. 3 weeks later, Admiral Yunhai stood in the same briefing room where this had all begun. The holographic display showed the latest intelligence reports from across the galaxy. The Devourer advance had stopped completely. Their remaining forces were pulling back to defensive positions. Commander Veltar looked much different than he had before the battle. His yellow eyes no longer held arrogance when he looked at the human officers. The Devourers appear to be afraid of us now. They are avoiding any system with a significant human presence. General Kixmoth's replacement, a young insectoid officer named Ziktar, studied the tactical displays with obvious respect. How is that possible? They are machines. Machines do not feel fear. Admiral Yunhai turned to face the alien commanders. They do not feel fear the way we do, but their artificial intelligence has learned that fighting humans is inefficient. They cannot predict our behavior or adapt to our tactics quickly enough. So what happens now? Commander Veltar asked. Before Admiral Yunhai could answer, the briefing room doors opened and Han Wu walked in. He looked exactly the same as he had 3 weeks ago, quiet, calm, and unremarkable. He took his seat at the end of the table and activated his data pad. The alien commanders watched him with new understanding. They had seen what happened when humans went quiet during briefings. They had learned that silence was not a sign of weakness or confusion. It was the stillness of a predator sizing up its prey, calculating the perfect moment to strike. Han Wu looked up from his data pad and met the eyes of each alien commander. When he spoke, his voice was calm and steady, just like it had been during that first briefing. The war is not over, he said simply. The Devourers will adapt and return with new tactics. When they do, we will be ready for them. Commander Veltar nodded respectfully. What do you recommend, Lieutenant Commander? Han Wu smiled. It was the same Predator's smile he had worn during the battle, but now the alien commanders understood what it meant. We hunt them, he said. We track them to their home systems and show them what happens when you threaten humanity's children. We teach them why evolution made us the apex predators of Earth. The briefing room fell silent as the alien commanders considered the implications.